That moving? Oh yeah, there. So my name's Mary and I'm a planner with the Sustainable Travel Unit in Cork County Council, and I mainly work with the Safe Routes to School programme, but it's not something I can deliver alone, so thanks to my colleagues who are here today. So I'm going to talk briefly about what the programme actually is, and then I'm going to focus on some of our key learnings from schemes we've delivered in Bandon, Cove, Balgooly and Crosshaven. The Safe Routes to School scheme, it's so easy to explain because it has a great name and it essentially does exactly what it says on the tin. It's about getting children to school safely, and the key focus is on the front of school and on the routes to school and trying to accelerate walking, scooting and cycling on those routes. And the programme is delivered in partnership with the NTA, An Taisce and the local authorities. So it was launched back in 2021, and all the schools in Ireland were invited to apply, and 60 of those schools were from County Cork. So far, 26 schools have been brought on to the active programme by An Taisce and the NTA. We're currently on to round 3. So this map shows the schools, and they're dotted all over the county. We've got 17 active projects at the moment at various stages. We've got 5 working their way through design, we've 12 at scoping design, and then we've got 9 completed projects. I'm going to talk about some of those today. I'm not going to dwell too much on the process. It can appear quite sequential, and I suppose one of the key things we've learned is getting out and working with your An Taisce infrastructure officer. So we're often out meeting the school principals with the infrastructure officer right at the start. It's a great benefit because you can manage expectations. Oftentimes the schools here, now on the active programme, will have our scheme by the summer, so you can manage their expectations around delivery. And also you're out there and you're seeing what's happening at that school, what the constraints are and what the options are available to us. So by the time that outline delivery report arrives to Cork County Council, oftentimes we already know how we're going to deal with this project. Will we design it in-house? Are we going to get consultants on board? And it also avoids a lot of duplications, and you've got those good working relationships from the start. So we're going to start with Bandon. So this is a school, 2 schools located on Convent Hill, and this is one of the first Safe Routes to Schools projects we delivered in County Cork, and it was really successful in terms of the traffic calming, and it highlights what you can be achieved in the front of the school. And I don't think I can sum it up better than what the principal said to us, and she said, "You literally took my stress away." So at pick up and drop off, the stress was gone. There was now space for her students to get in and out to school. They had a raised crossing, we had our pencil bollards, and we had the coloured rundles on the road. But we did learn from this that visual traffic calming isn't always enough. So we did go back in here and put an additional physical traffic calming in the form of a ramp. And I suppose it's don't be afraid to revisit if after delivery you realise you need to do a bit more. So we're going to move on to Cove now, which these 3 schools are located at the top of the hill, and Cove is definitely hilly. And we were really lucky. These 3 schools all applied to the Safe Routes to School programme, so we were able to deal with them as one project, and there was many benefits to that. But before we started, you had 1,300 pupils coming into this area, and then you have the school staff on top of that. So as you can imagine, it was just congested. You had double parking happening on the road and then narrow, congested footpaths. So by being able to deal with this as one project, we were able to be far-reaching with this, and this is the project that keeps on giving, as you'll see. So first we started out with, we were going to do 2 school zones, one on Bishop Street and one on Aurelia Terrace. Now, we started on Bishop Street because the 2 schools on Bishop Street were open to the programme, and they were keen and they were delighted to work with us. So we said, we'll start down here. We had really generous carriageway widths here, so we were able to give that back to pavements and deliver a really lovely school zone down there and just calm the whole thing down. So it worked out really well. And then when the school up on Aurelia Terrace saw what was happening down on Bishop Street. They came back to us and said, where's our school zone? So off we went up Aurelia Terrace. Now up here, it was a bit more challenging in terms of our width, but we were able to increase the footpath width and create a school zone up there. And we actually got a local artist to deliver a mural for us up there, which really helped in terms of softening the school zone up there. But I suppose one of the key parts of this programme, and this work was all happening in the background, was trying to deliver a permeability link through one of the school's lands that would link the schools together. And this would connect the residential areas, and they would shorten walking times to school. And as the secondary school principal said to us, it's like a release valve. All of these kids don't now need to come down onto Bishop Street. They can just cut in from College Manor. Now, it took a lot of work to ensure this link would benefit two of the schools, and here stakeholder engagement is key. We had really strong working relationships with the principals, and we were able to guide them through the process, which culminated in both school patrons signing the memorandum of understanding for the permeability link. Now, to get there, it wasn't easy. We had two boards of management, two patrons. They were both getting legal advice, and there was a lot of questions and on-site meetings, and this took time. So whilst the main scheme was finished, delivered, this was still working on in the background. But I think the challenges here, they far outweighed by the benefits we have now with this permeability link. And it's hoped eventually when the secondary school builds their extension and that's all fixed, that the final bit of the link will link through to the third school as well. So we're heading west now to Belgooly. And while the first two projects are urban in nature, this is a rural school located outside of the village. So you can see the blue line on the map there. That's the school down to the village and the GA pitch. And that's about a 20-minute walk. And this school, located a rural school up outside the village, has 350 pupils coming from the surrounding area, and you've got 5 school buses serving it. So this is what it looked like before. So typical rural school. And one of the challenges here, and the principal would freely admit to it, is they thought we were a bit mad and there was no way we could remove cars from the front of school and create a school zone. And because of the school's location, we found that we needed to focus on the two elements here, which are also the key aims of the programme. That's creating the school zone and getting the link down into the village. And then there was a separate towns and villages project happening, creating footpaths down there, so that would tie in with that. So when we went back to the school, we were able to get their buy-in, and also being able to point them to completed schemes like we'd done in Cove really helped with that. So the focus here at the front of the school was creating a school zone that gave students and the parents, grandparents space to congregate. But we didn't just widen the footpaths here, we also introduced rainwater gardens. So you can see there from the drawings, there's overflow weirs, and that's taking the runoff from the road, and that functions as a nature-based drainage solution. So to complement the rainwater gardens, we've included planting focused on biodiversity enhancement. And one of the unintended benefits of the scheme the principal has told us about, that this is now an outdoor classroom for them. It's also worth noting that the landscaping here was recognised by the Landscape Institute last year, and it won the overall President's Award. And another key message, I suppose, in learning we have is you do need to be ready to go with your works during the summer, and you need to get the works completed in that tight time frame, so that when the schools come back in September, the infrastructure is in place, and it makes it far easier then to make those behavioural shifts. Now, this was evident in Belgooly, and very much driven by the leadership in the school as well. And they've been really successful in bringing about that switch to more walking, scooting and cycling. Now, these are some pictures, and they were taken during Bike Week, but if you go to the school on just a random day, you will see those students streaming out onto their footpaths. Some of them will even go on the road because there's no traffic there. They're using the footpath link down to the village for those that live in the village. The kids that are getting the bus have space to get onto the bus. And that footpath link is also being used for the kids to get down to the GA pitches for their matches. So I suppose it's a really good example of what you can achieve in rural areas, where oftentimes there might be a bit more resistance. So we're heading to Crosshaven now, and this is a seaside village, another challenging topography, and I'm going to play some drone footage. Is that going to play automatically? Oh, here we go. So lovely views of Crosshaven, you'll all want to go visit. So the school here is located up behind the church, and they don't really have a front of school. And that was one of the initial challenges, because most of our projects had focused on that front of school. But we needed to get those school children down through the church and through where you've got church traffic coming up and parking. So that's where our delineated footpath down, and that gets them down to Upper Road, and that's where their school zone is. And you've got your traditional traffic calming there. But in Crosshaven, you've got all these little links. So you've got pedestrian links. So then you get down onto Middle Road, and here we have a footpath, and you're into a shared surface here. And this then brings you down onto Hayes' Lane. And when you're down here, you're into the village of Crosshaven. But here the kids are going back along Middle Road. Oh, we're going down Hayes' Lane. So they're coming up chapel steps here. So I suppose one of the big challenges for us in Crosshaven is there was so many routes, and the focus here was in filling in the missing links so that the kids could start to use these routes and the wider community as well. And also, I suppose it's really important, children are key drivers of behavioural change. They love the opportunity to walk and play. And when we put in the micro art here, there was a few comments about our notions about putting fun things like hopscotch in. And the lovely school warden was telling me, she said, just you wait and see. And if you go down there, the kids love having a play on the hopscotch. Sometimes the parents sit in the seats, and that just giving them those opportunities to talk and play is amazing. And also when we were down filming the drone footage, I was chatting to some of the parents, and they were saying the kids now want to walk further on their own, and they are now feeling that that's okay because the links are there, they have footpaths, they have their space. So thanks a million for listening on that whistle-top tour of a few of our schemes in Cork. I suppose being able to showcase real-life examples really helps. So once you've got that first scheme over the line and you can bring principals to that or send principals to talk to other principals, it really helps with winning them over. So that stakeholder engagement with principals and the public is key, especially when you're trying to deliver joint projects. Nature-based solutions and the biodiversity planting will have way more benefits than just what you think initially. Really, if you get your front of school and you've got your roots, then that's when you can get that behavioural change. But it's the children that will push the parents out of the cars and start using the infrastructure. Thanks very much.